So far, we're just waiting for people to join in. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll be starting in a few minutes. We're just going to wait for a few more attendees to join, and we'll get started. I'll just give it one more minute and then we'll get started with some introductions and moving forward with today's presentation. Okay. Okay, good afternoon to everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank you for joining with us for our virtual summit. Hopefully you've been finding your participation in this event to be very informative and beneficial for you and your schools and your students. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few, planning things for our conference today. If you do have any questions or would like to have anything answered, there's a question and answer feature at the bottom where you can just add your questions and answers, or you can use the chat box. We'll be monitoring both and responding to your questions at the end. We're going to have a 45-minute presentation, and then 15 minutes will be left for questions and answers. If there's anything that may come up pressing and needs to be addressed right away, we may interrupt our presenter today, Melora, and she'll be hopefully kind enough to answer those questions. If not, we'll hold them off to the end of the presentation. All right. Again, feel free, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A box, or if you want to chat, just share your feedback, please feel free to use the chat box as well. My name is Robert Wayne Harris, and I am the Chief Learning Officer for Tech. I'm also a former superintendent of schools in Long Island, New York. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you your presenter today. We work with her very closely. She's very dynamic, Melora. Melora serves as the executive director and is the co-founder of the Long Island-based 501c3 non-for-profit KidOYO. Taking an interest early on in how young minds develop, Melora has been successful in developing products that offer young learners diverse ways of mastering complex challenges. After earning a gold record for the RIAA for developing music-based learning products, she pivoted into working with major retailers to create custom product lines in the toy space. From Target to Toys R Us, U.S. Imaginarium line to Costco, her imaginative and innovative toys were sold worldwide. Today at the helm of KidOYO, Melora focuses on helping teachers and students of all ages take on the challenge of learning how to code and master rigorous computer science and engineering concepts. Her unique ability to turn concept mastery into fun, approachable products has been the core of KidOYO's popular software, OYO Class. As OYO Class hits the 85,000 member mark, the team is turning their attention to the development of more opportunities for the career and workforce development space. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you Melora.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks for being here for my presentation. As Robert mentioned, we're a Long Island-based organization, and we do a number of things. We got started by directly teaching young people how to program. And what started out as a family-based endeavor to find like-minded kids like our son turned into an opportunity to reach kids of all ages, all the way from pre-K up through college level at this point. When we first got started doing this, we were really unprepared for the amount of young people who had an interest in computer programming. And one of the first problems that we ran into was how to connect to these students beyond the moment that they're in the classroom with us. And additionally, how can we connect them to the tools and resources they need in a learning environment where oftentimes you can run into restrictions of what type of machine are you using? Can you download software onto that machine? And what sort of errors do you encounter along the way? So during that whole learning process of teaching and working with young people, we developed our own online learning platform called OYO Class. OYO stands for Own Your Own. And the philosophy of owning your own really goes into a number of areas here. First and foremost was to try to instill the idea that each student is responsible and owns their own learning path and how they engage within it. And the second is that any artifact that they create in their entire learning journey really belongs to them, and they should have the ability to own it and control all of the data associated with it. Now more than ever, we are looking at ways in which to protect our students, make sure that they're not being mined and tracked with their data. And part of OYO Class is to continually provide that opportunity for young people to learn in a place where they're not a product that is really being used by a company to sell marketing and advertising. So that's where OYO Class comes into play. As Robert mentioned, we're actually closer to 100,000 students at this point. I'm glad to say we're steadily growing. We have a unique opportunity for teachers to join our platform and have support within their classrooms using trained and certified mentors who are there to support individualized learners, as well as to just help with the massive amount of workload that comes into teaching young people in a digital space. So I'm going to share my screen and show you what OYO Class looks like. Interrupt me at any time you like. We're very comfortable in the digital space. We, in addition to creating the software that runs all of these classrooms across Long Island and other regions within New York, we also teach live. We teach every weekend, we teach all day. And so what you're going to see is what we consider scaffolding around our own programs. Okay, so let me share my screen. And as I said, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions along the way. Okay, well, you get to see my messy desktop. Okay, so I thought what would be good is first I'm going to take you inside and show you what OYO Class looks like from within. So the first thing to know is that OYO Class is really more of a learning management system than it is a coding specific platform. You're going to hear two terms thrown out there as OYO Class and KidOYO. OYO Class is the software or the platform interface that we built to run our programs and then ultimately to connect to school districts. I will say that when we started this out and we started building this, our thought was that at some point down the road, there would be the need for individual teachers, mentors or learning facilitators to have a virtual classroom space. And with each tool that we built for ourselves to create something, we made it so that anyone else could also have this platform and run it just like it's theirs. Everything is more of kind of like a white label approach where you can brand it, customize how it looks and feels, and the content that goes into it as well. KidOYO, on the other hand, is really the live instruction arm of our organization. And this is where we write all the curriculum from, provide the virtual mentors that are supporting your classrooms. And together we bring this very robust learning environment. What you're gonna see is our content. However, I am gonna preview for you a couple of districts who are putting together a very dynamic OYO class of their own. Okay, so very quickly, the idea of community in a digital space is really important. Young people want to connect. So when you are choosing a platform to deliver virtual learning, and I think, you know, we're all in the scenario now unexpectedly, we have to figure out how to create that sense of community for students so that they feel like they have a voice, that their learning is an active engagement place. And every time you come into OYO class, you actually you're coming into your own personalized community, or the community that your school spins up, or whatever it might be. So I'm bringing you into one of my communities. This is my KidOYO 101 community, where most of my beginner learners learn directly. This is not a school-based community, and I'm going to show you kind of what the difference between those is. Visually, they look the same. Permission-wise, they're a little different. In this, we allow kids to be whatever they want to be. Like you can see Harry Potter fan here on the wall, that's a student. So the way that this is laid out is this top navigation bar offers you all of the tools of learning and creation that you would engage as a student, or if it's a learning community for adults that a teacher would learn from. We have a lot of professional development learning communities, and so you'll see some differences there. The navigation bar has a number of tools. The first is this app drop-down list. This is customized to the community itself. So what you will see in this 101 community is what's appropriate for a beginner level learner. We have different applications for each level of skill development. We start off with the very simple block-based programming, and we move all the way up through AP Computer Science A and Computer Science Principles. I'll show you the apps after I explain everything here. The next we have our learning pathways. And these learning pathways are, again, I'm going to take you, sorry, move communities. Moving between communities is quite easy. You have a drop-down menu once you have an account in here, and this drop-down community menu allows you to travel between all of your various learning communities. And the learning community is really just defined by the students and mentors that are in the community. This is my Teach community, which is all adults. And when I click the app menu here, you can see there's a whole new array of apps. So every district that joins our communities has access to every app, and it's all included. We just streamline them a bit to create an easier approach. And you can see that this, since we deal with so many different programming languages, it can get a little overwhelming. Let's say if you're putting this in a kindergarten classroom. So back to how this works. Navigating across the top, you can use the apps to create a number of different things in many different programming languages. Our learning paths are a guided progression toward a specific language or skill set. So here, I'll choose Python, for example. You can see that we have many different learning pathways, and I'll take you inside to see what a learning path looks like. When I click inside the learning pathway, I have a new display of information. I'm presented with a course, which allows me to start learning. This one is getting started with using Python turtles in programming. It's followed by a number of challenges. A challenge is really an assessment tool. So when a student is learning how to program, you need to give them some goals to aim at, or some specific projects that they can work on to apply those skills to. I often equate it to kind of being in the kitchen. You know, we don't just take a whole bunch of vegetables out of the refrigerator and chop them all up and walk away and say, well, we did it. We're doing it with the intention of trying to make something. So providing all of these objectives for kids gives them the opportunity to express the skill they're learning. When a student takes on one of these challenges, and I'll just give you a challenge to look at. This is a challenge where they are replicating a shape, a mandala type shape, using the skills that they learned in their Python turtle program. When the student programs the correct solution, they submit this, and it goes out to all of the KidOYO challenges feed out to our mentor dashboard. The mentor dashboard is is where all of our trained and certified mentors receive challenge work and give personalized feedback to every student in the learning system. Many of the coding platforms that you can encounter out there use what's called an auto grader. And while the auto grader can take away some of the work for the teacher in that it provides the feedback, it limits what type of feedback a student can provide to a challenge. And in programming, it's important that you have the way to express the solution to a challenge in a number of different creative ways. So each one of these mentors gives this live feedback. And I should say too, just kind of a side note on that, all of our mentors are in a computer science or engineering progression in university or beyond. And they go through our extensive training, then our background checked, and are continually trained on how to give appropriate feedback to different age learners. This has been really important for those level students. These are university and beyond students. Because as we are all entering this turbulent time, finding internships and applying their own skills and having the ability to put themselves through their own learning journeys has been really important, and they're earning scholarships for all of their activity within the platform. It's been an extremely rewarding experience for them and for the students that get to know these other mentors in this virtual space. So as students are moving through their pathways, I'll go back to the pathway view for you, and we'll jump back into this Python. So as they're going through this, you can see that they're passing individual challenges. Those individual challenges result in the issuing of a digital badge. A digital badge is a good way to show off a skill set that can carry actual project work with it. So for example, I'm showing you my learning path. So I programmed a turtle to draw a square. It was done correctly. I was issued this badge, and this badge goes to my digital portfolio. Everyone within the OYO class platform has a digital portfolio, and it's something that we maintain beyond graduation. And even if you have a student that's in your district and they transfer to another district, let's say that does not use OYO class, they still always have access to all of the work they created and this digital portfolio. So as I mentioned, as you complete a various challenge, you are issued these badges, and the badges can carry an identifiable piece of evidence in the badge. So if I open this up, oops, sorry. Well, I'm going to run into my own problem here for a moment. I should have chosen one ahead of time, but essentially what happens is the badge is issued. It tells you who issued the badge with a link to who that person is so that you can verify who they are and what their skill set is, time and date stamp. And there's another field right here that if I were not the creator of most of these challenges, I would be able to have my project embedded into it. That is important when students are applying to advanced programs. There's a lot of kids who are looking to get into coding boot camps, who are looking to apply to universities, and these badges can be shared in a virtual space in a digital way through email, on their portfolios, on a website. And what's important about that is typically in the past, we've had to ask someone to trust us that if you open this program, we promise nothing bad is going to happen to you when you do. That's not very easy to get someone in a computer science or engineering school to do because so many things travel in with viruses or malicious malware attached to them. So this is a safe way to show off your skills without asking someone to jeopardize their own computer safety to do so. So as the student continues to move through their learning path, you can see that there are these blue notes. It might be a little hard to see on a smaller screen, but it's essentially laying out the criteria for passing an entire bundle of challenges. Sometimes we add in optional challenges to allow the student to have choice of work. There are many different ways to express the same skill, and giving kids that opportunity to do what they want within that space has proven very successful for us. It gives them a sense of ownership over their work and having a choice of how they're going to express what they're learning. So as they move through the rest of this learning path, ultimately this will produce for them a mastery badge. When you get the mastery badge, it will set off fireworks, and then the mastery badge also goes into your learning, digital portfolio. And unlike a single digital badge, which you'll see all over the place, a lot of people are starting to use these micro badges. This is something that we innovated called a mastery badge, which gives you a wider description of the skill set that a student has based on completing every challenge grouped into this learning path. So the reason why we did this was as we started to accumulate more badges and we're using these to track what a student could do, some of our students have earned 300, 400 individual micro badges, and that becomes a hard story to decipher. What is it that they can actually do? So the mastery badges document the completion of a full skill set, where the micro badges are a skill accomplished along a path towards something else. Okay, let me bring you back in. Okay, so now that's how the learning paths work with the digital badge. We also offer the ability for students to go in and look just at what are all of the badges that are available in their learning community. They can click on any of those badges, and if a badge has a challenge requirement to it, then they'll see that they have to then come in and satisfy the challenge in order to earn that badge. And the challenges are laid out. They have very defined requirements and generally a sample of what the outcome of the project should be, and then a field where a student can provide a solution. So because we offer so many different learning paths and so many different progressions, we have all of these various editors. So a student can come in the very simplest way and start learning in block-based programming, like with this Maze Code app, which is very simple. These all have a mastery badge associated with it. You can track student analytics and see exactly where your students are in their progression. It starts them off with very simple directional mazes where they're simply trying to get their turtle to the target, and they have a series of blocks in order to get them there. And each step is a decision along the way. We also give them the ability to create within this space because we believe that the best type of learning is when you can turn around and apply that learning to something that you're making. There's teacher manuals embedded so that you can get guidance and assistance to your students as they're progressing through each of these editors. Brand new to us this year, I'll show you, this actually just isn't about ready to release. We're doing our final bug testing, so it's kind of exciting to show. Oops. Sorry. Oops. You know what? I cannot show it to you. My developers just pulled it down. So we have another app called Color by Code. It's for very, very young beginners. We've been previewing it out into the preschool communities, and it is designed to introduce very simple programming concepts to our youngest learners, where they're earning badges and moving through using familiar space like coloring sheets and pictures to teach them things like conditional statements, loops, pattern recognition, sequencing, and abstraction. Okay, so that's really how a student engages. The benefit that most schools really appreciate, I think, the most in terms of this is, as teachers, we're not always prepared to offer really advanced instruction, and especially to kids who are digital natives. So here what we have the ability to do is to allow students to come in and work at their own pace through their own learning path and receive this personalized feedback from all of these mentors, while at the same time, the teachers are working along, doing the same challenge work, can start to master their skills and help the students who are struggling in that community. Additionally, many schools allow their students to become student mentors and allow them to answer questions that are being posted to the wall and help guide other students through their progress. So you can see this is our mentor team being tagged to ask for specific questions. They can come in and kind of help along the way. The other thing that you're seeing on this wall are the badges as they're being issued out so that students can see the work that other students are doing and kind of motivate them to get involved. And, you know, there's a little bit of competition in there. Okay, so now what you're seeing too is I want to jump into the LMS side of this. Okay, let me just check. I think I have a question. Oh, okay. Okay, so I'll jump into the LMS side of this. One of the things that when we built this originally, we thought there would be a lot of people who would need to run a virtual class. So each time that we created anything at all, we wanted to make sure that anybody else using our platform would also have that ability. So when a school district launches this platform out, they form a community based on a number of things. We might have a district who is running this for K-5 implementation, and they'll have a community for each of their elementary schools. Or you could have it where it's class specific. For example, we have communities that are running that are just AP Computer Science Principles or AP Computer Science A, for example, and then that community would be made up of just students taking that elective. So as a creator or a teacher in this community, you have a number of tools. I'm going to try to go through them very quickly, knowing I don't have a lot of time. So first, you have a robust member management system, which allows you to see all of the members in your community and assign various things to them. So you can change their role from student to mentor. You can give them a manager role, which fine-tunes the permissions that they have within the community. For example, you might want someone to be a course creator, you might want someone to be a challenge creator, you might want someone to be able to check challenges or monitor the wall or create blogs or discussion threads while others can't. You can mute students from here if you need to, and you can easily archive and move them between communities using this tool as well. Additionally, we have the ability to build groups, and a group allows you to segment your classroom either into class periods or groups within the class where you can assign specific work to one group of students and a different set of work to another group of students. Our course tool allows you to have a full course creation suite that allows you to create your own courses. I'll just give you a quick here. You can put in a course name, upload any image you like, give a brief description, and then start adding content into your actual course. You can add additional web pages, you can add slides, you can add quizzes, and you can just upload your own PDF files. Additionally, you can share courses with connected communities. So when you connect to another school community, it could be someone within your own school district, or it could be a partner district. Here on Long Island, we have a vast network of schools that connect themselves to each other so that they can share resources. They might get together and do some summer curriculum writing and then barter with another school district to get their curriculum. We see that a lot when it comes to personalized professional development. The next thing we give you the ability to is to create your own challenges. Now, we have a lot of programming challenges in here, but I have a challenge that I thought would be interesting to show off. This is from one of our partner school districts, and they opted to use our platform to in every way possible for distance learning. They use it in the library, for gym teachers putting out challenges, art teachers putting out challenges. They ran a full American Sign Language program this summer. So we're seeing all kinds of things, because in the challenge, you can embed anything you like. This is a link to the teacher reading aloud to their students. And then they engage this interface, which is built into the platform, that allows teachers to upload worksheets, define what the answer is, and then students can then open the sheet on any device and use the editor tools to write their descriptions in. And so it really is versatile, can be used for anything. And creating a challenge is as simple as typing in a name, giving it a difficulty rating, clicking here, And then in the description field, you can embed a number of things, including we do integrate with Flipgrid. So we see a lot of teachers offering a micro lesson on Flipgrid, giving some definition of what they would like the child to give as feedback, and then adding a badge to it. So it becomes just and students can upload a Flipgrid response, I should say too. So there's a really robust editor tool here to create dynamic challenges. One of the main motivators and engagement places that we see is the kids love these digital badges. I mean, I would say teachers love them as well. The digital badges are fun and engaging, but they're, with young kids, it's kind of like sticker collecting, or even like if you think about Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts getting those badges. So we'll see kids doing challenges around the clock, really 24/7, and our mentors are there all the time checking challenges. All challenges are checked within 24 hours, and most are checked within an hour or two. So you have a quick turnaround time, even though it's personalized feedback. You also have the ability as a school district to create your own badges. So sometimes we'll see badges for participation, snow day challenge badges, badges for reading, participation. You can do all kinds of badges. We see some getting kids ready for their Zoom or virtual sessions, and they issue out badges for that. Finally, we also give you the ability to create your own learning path. So creating a learning path is really just stacking in courses and challenges to guide a student toward a mastery of a learning skill. A discussion, we give you the ability to run a discussion thread, and a discussion thread here allows you to have a more in-depth conversation with your students. It also allows them to post discussions, things that they might find interesting, and things that you want to allow them to offer up video, pictures, etc. Okay, done here. We also created a stories capability, which is really the ability for a classroom to run a blog that would allow the teacher to offer up things for their students and also communicate with parents in this distance learning time. I think it's important where we can have a place where we can share ideas, what's happening in the classroom, what's coming, and allow students to participate as well. Our pages function allows you to have an external facing web page to communicate to parents or community members without them having to log in and be inside of this protected school space. Finally, we have in management tools of the students, we have an analytics tool, and the analytics really allows us to see the progress that people working in the platform have completed. You can see it as an aggregate of the whole group, or you can divide it into a subset. So for example, here, what I've done here is I'm sorting my data. I'm going to look at everything that was accomplished in this professional development learning community from January of 2019 to current, and then I subdivided it again into just a teacher training group. So now I can sort the data and it will provide a view in. So one of the first things it does is, let me just sort this a little bit more. So one of the first things it does is this is going to show us what challenge works specifically. So this is like looking at individual assessments versus an entire learning path. And you can see it allows me to scroll across. I can fine tune by category, so I'm seeing a smaller amount of challenges. And then underneath this list of all of the various challenge work that's in here, I see a list of the students to the left and these boxes. So each box represents work in the platform. If the box is green, like these ones are, this is telling you that the student has successfully accomplished the challenge correctly. The number inside the box tells you how many times it took. So we offer the ability for someone to fail over and over again before ultimately passing. We consider this really important in guiding young people toward really problem solving and overcoming challenge, adversity. Oftentimes people ask us about the idea of using the word fail, and we are specifically trying to build failure tolerance into students so that they see that just because you try one time and it doesn't work doesn't mean that that's the end of your experience. So we always tell the students to try again, and we always give that feedback to them that they had a great first attempt and let's try it again. The other thing that we can track in here are individual learning path progress. So when I see this, now I'm clicking in, and instead of seeing individual challenges, I'm seeing the full skill set of a learning path and where an individual learner is within that. So as you can see here, now things have changed where I'm not seeing just 1, 2, 3, or 4 inside the blocks, but I'm seeing now a percentage. And this percentage is showing me exactly where this person is in their progression. So for example, I can see that this person is 67% of the way through their maze code tutorials. And when I click into it, it gives me really granular detail where I can see exactly where they are. I can see they've passed all these, and I can see the student is here, which tells me either they're on track or not based on what I've assigned to them. I think I will probably pause to see if there are any specific questions, and then I'll go into the programming languages a little bit more.
Right now, I don't see any questions in the Q&A or in the chat box, but if anyone does have questions, you can feel free to ask them at this time.
Okay. All right, so as you saw here, and I'm going to go back into this to just kind of cover a little bit about our diverse tool set. So we start off with block-based programming, and it's really just simple maze challenges and really trying to get students to understand simple concepts. From there, we move into a couple of different creative apps. One is our Sprite Editor app, which really takes students into creating digital art. This has been really, really popular among young kids, and it's more than just them drawing on a page. As you can see, when I open the editor, this is having them create various frames that have different properties on each frame. They're planning their frame rates per minute, and they can create all sorts of artwork. The idea behind this was oftentimes art gets left out of computer science, and yet when it comes to being a producer and someone that can make money in this space, if you create ugly technology, people just don't use it. So we're trying to get kids comfortable with the idea that art and technology will always go hand in hand when you're trying to create a successful outcome. Even when we talk to places like big science laboratories, they want to take text-based code and turn it into a visual representation so that everybody can understand what that data is saying. No one really wants to look at a page of just rolling data. So we start with teaching them basic sprite editors. They can then take that into any of their programming languages and apply it. The next app that we have in here for students is the Scratch programming language. We actually worked with the original source code from MIT to create this. What we found was that while the programming language is highly beneficial for students to learn, and we use everything like embedding all of the tutorials that launch on the screen, allowing students to walk through, one of the things that became very challenging for this is because it's an open source collaborative editor. When you go to scratch.mit.edu, I think is the website, you're there with a lot of other people, millions in fact, and it becomes really hard to keep a contained classroom and also make sure that students aren't receiving negative commentary or allowed to make negative commentary on someone else's projects. And the other thing is that no matter what happens in Scratch, a student can always open someone else's project up and see how it was made, which makes it almost impossible to assess if they really understood the material or not. So here we made it so that projects can be closed source. So you can see that this project here is a public open source. This is a public closed source. And what that means is students create the work, and only mentors and teachers can see the code, but kids can't see each other's code, which means they can play the project, they can be inspired by it, but they can't really copy from each other. And plagiarism is definitely a huge issue when it comes to coding and computer science. When students are ready to move outside of the block-based programming, the first obstacle we run into when we're teaching is how painful it can be to teach someone who only can type 4 words per minute. Then we move into programming languages and we see not only are we trying to type 4 words or many words per minute, but now we're adding in things that don't necessarily happen in a traditional home row typing program. This is our speed code editor. So in 4 different programming languages, students can start practicing typing in that programming language. You see, as they make a mistake, it will block their progress forward. I'm typing, but nothing's happening. I have to go back and fix it. This does a number of things. One is it's a great way for them to start practicing their own typing skills. But the other is this is actual written code, and it's written in that programming language. So if you see, there's commentary in here. And beside telling them when they're done what their run speed was, their typing speed, how many mistakes, they can actually open the code. And the code will show up in one of our code editors, showing them exactly what it looks like when it's written as true code. And then even more importantly, they can run the code and see what that code produces, which is really how most of us who program nowadays learned, because there were not coding classes and there were not people teaching how to code in the 80s and before. So here, this is how we used to learn. We used to take other people's code, we would mess around with it, see what it does, say, I know what a radius does. I wonder if radius means the same thing in programming. Let me change it from 16 to 55 and try running it. And yep, radius means the same thing. And so kids can come in here, they can learn to type, they can learn the proper syntax. It's like muscle memory. They issue badges, you can have competitions, you can see where you size up against other typing coders. But more importantly, they can play with the code and learn from this active running code. There are 40 different exercises in 4 different programming languages. Okay. The next app we take you into is Python Mini. And Python Mini, Python is the most, if not, I will say one of the most, it's so debatable at the very top, but desired programming languages. The reason why is Python is used for big data management, which we know big data is a huge industry. Most of the science labs are using Python. Artificial intelligence is being built on Python. Machine learning is Python. And some of the tools we use every day and that kids use every day, like YouTube, front page, is driven by Python. In fact, my platform here is written primarily in Python. So you can see its use is very versatile. It's an easy to use language. It starts using human-based language versus symbols. So from turtle, import turtle is usually the first line of Python script that any of our students run. One of the things that we just added, which I'm really excited about, let me save this first, is a virtual classroom. For anyone who has tried to teach text-based programming over this virtual time frame, it's challenging because you can't see everybody's screens, and even sharing it and then reviewing it together is a bit tough. So we came up with this virtual learning tool. So what it allows you to do is spin up a virtual classroom. I can say this is my Python class as an instructor. When I create it, it provides a code, and the students can enter in as a learner and enter that code. And when they do, we all show up in this virtual learning room together. When we're in here, I normally have students in here with me, a little mini micro screen will pop up for each student, and I can see them live coding in the platform, which allows me to help find the problems they're having. I can also search for missing lines of code. So if I'm trying to teach everyone to do a specific thing, I can type that line in and see who's struggling and keep them on track. We do anticipate putting this on the rest of our editors. It's brand new and it has been highly valuable in our own live learning lessons. The difference between Python Mini is it's running off from the 2.7 programming languages, and it has some graphic libraries installed so students can make games. Python 3 editor is really for just text-based programming, and it is running off from the latest version of Python. Our OYO website tool allows students to create and we host a website. It's a full publishing tool, so you actually are building a real website. Web editor and Markdown are for practice using web-based languages, but they're in the side-by-side editor view rather than a full website publishing tool. The rest of these editors are all side-by-side editors as well, and we have learning paths to guide you through. So we offer Java, C#, Lua. We don't do much with Go at the moment. Swift, which is Apple's language, Ruby, Rust, C++, which is used by Microsoft primarily, but a lot of console games. A lot of kids know about it because Minecraft was rewritten from Java into C++. C, which is robotics language, and then ultimately we do a lot with Arduino based programming as well. And I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to see if there's anything I need to cover quickly. Yep. I think I've hit my 45-minute mark, so I will just say very quickly before I wrap this up that when you engage with OYO class, at first it looks like an enormous tool to work with. It is streamlined down to the individual learner groups, and we are a service-based organization. So professional development, individualized support, mentor support, virtual office hours, live Zoom lessons, those are all part of the OYO class experience. So with that, I will say thank you for listening, and if anybody has any questions.
All right. Are there any questions from any of the participants? No? Laura, is there anything else you want to add? Maybe, I know you spoke a little bit about the competitions, and I had the opportunity to attend at least 2 of your competitions here on Long Island, and the excitement of the students, their focus was something that I was really impressed by as well. They were on their own. They were coding and taking down territories from the competitors or the competition in other school districts. It was a really exciting day to see the students so engaged in developing code and looking at ways that they could capitalize on what they've learned to be able to become victorious in the end and win the most territories. So I did find that to be just exciting. I saw that as something that students would benefit from, learning and coding on their own with the support of your mentors and you, of course, and their teachers in the classroom. But I think you created a very dynamic program for students to be able to own their own learning and own their own coding. Appropriate name. I see the competition right there.
Thank you, Robert. I forgot all about this, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So yes, we actually started an inter-district school league for students to form coding teams. One of the things that we realized was a lot of kids who are inclined to game or be interested in computer science haven't really had the experience to be part of a team. And when you go into the job force, that's one of the first things that they want you to do is work on a team. In fact, I remember this actually was really kind of spurred on by some of the things that we would run into working with some of the top computer science colleges. Is these students were great in a one-on-one space, and then they would go to interview and be put on teams or have to engage with a team, and it was so brand new to them, and it really shouldn't have been brand new when they were graduating college, but it really was. So we came up with this, and I have to throw credit to this to my son, actually. He came up with the idea of combining the game of Risk with coding. So what you're seeing here is this app in the center is a map, and we have many different maps. This was the middle school division of Viking Conquest, and you can see these are all the various teams that came on board. Each of the teams consisted of 8 to 10 students, and this was a middle school competition. They come in these little ships off to the side, and they launch, they have their team color, their logos and everything, and then they start launching attacks, and each attack is defined by a specific skill in a programming language. So for instance, this territory says that you have to use the Scratch programming language to create, of course, I found one I can't produce, Yggdrasil and the 9 realms. So if we click it open, they can do some research and find out what Yggdrasil and the 9 realms is, and then they have to use their coding skills to produce that, and they compete against the other teams. There's a team of mentor judges, And over on the right, what you're seeing is my combat log. So each one of these represents an attack against a territory. So these territories will get attacked over and over again and ultimately result in one team taking the competition. We were running these in a live space, but we will continue. The nice thing about it is we will be able to continue to run these in the virtual space. And we've actually been running these all summer long. So you can see we have different versions in here. We have skill dashes, which are kind of all students competing to race to the end using the same set of skills and overcoming the same challenges. This, which I was just going to show you a quick playback so you can see kind of what this looks like. This is the competition running. So you can see these are the teams attacking various areas. They'll turn over and over again. On the right-hand side are the various attacks and defense projects. In a 3-hour time frame, we took in over 330 something challenges. So the students are rapidly attacking, learning how to work together, manage a team of 8 to 10 kids, and trying to take over this entire map. So territories change hands multiple times. We have 3 league divisions currently. We have high school, which is 9 through 12. We have junior high, which is 7th and 8th grade. And we have what we're calling upper elementary middle, which is open from 4th grade to 6th graders. Believe it or not, we've been asked for kindergarten through 3rd league, and we're going to try to figure that one out as well. It's a little bit more challenging for the younger kids to operate in this space. But this has been highly successful, and I will say that it motivates students to learn and to push their skills because it gives them a place of competition and it gives them the ability to learn how to be a good sportsman. So that is open to all districts that are in our OYO class communities. And we put out a call. We have 3 different events scheduled for this coming school year. And we're just kind of waiting to release the dates once we see where we're all going to be. I think we're all anxious to see what happens in September.
Okay, great.
Done.
Yeah, okay, you're done?
I'm done, I think I'm done.
All right. All right, again, any questions or comments or interests, you can feel free to ask. And I know that Melora, you'll make yourself available as well. Your website, KidOYO, where they can find you. I don't know.
Yes, so there's 2 places to really look. KidOYO.com. I will give you information. It also, since we do work with, just directly with students, we have a robust community of young learners that come in through KidOYO.com, and it really gives you an idea of all the type of content that KidOYO as a whole offers. OYOclass.com will give you kind of a broader understanding of what the OYO Class Learning Management System offers for whether you're a school district or even if you're a university looking for how are you going to manage distance learning and offer creative computing to your students. So both of those places are good. You can reach me, Melora, at OYOclass.com or through Tech, our partners on Long Island.
Okay, and I'm just OYO Class. You said Melora at OYOclass.com. Adding that in there.
Yes.
Okay. All right. If we don't have any questions or comments, let me just check again to make sure. I want to thank all of participants who were able to join this course here. And I definitely want to thank our presenter, Melora, for presenting on KidOYO. Again, I put some information in the chat box, kidoyo.com, oyoclass.com, and also Melora's email address, Melora at oyoclass.com. So if you want to reach out for more information, please feel free. And as always, you can come to Tech and we will be able to support you as well and get you in contact with Melora or with any of the other companies who have partnered with us today with the virtual summit. So thanks again, everyone. Enjoy the remainder of the virtual summit and feel free to visit us at tech.com.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Melora.